Hey, it's Brandon here. Today we're going to be reviewing the Aeon 60 Basic 2. This should essentially be like every other Aeon 60. This is just the cheapest version of that skate. So what is so special about the USD Aeon boot? Well, the most unique part of the skate is that it is a one-piece boot. This means that the sole plates and the frames aren't removable. It's all just one piece. If you want to replace the frames or the sole plate, you have to replace the whole bottom of the boot. And when you first hear that it's a one-piece skate, this kind of seems like a bad thing, like we're going back in time rollerblade tech-wise, right? Getting rid of UFS just doesn't seem like a good idea. And that's the original thought I had when I first heard about the Aeons when they were launched so many years ago now. But it's actually the complete opposite. The one-piece boot allows you to have a perfect groove, makes the skate more responsive and less clacky, and very simple for anyone to just pick up and use. But before I talk about that more, I'll tell you my first impressions. So my first impressions pulling these out the box weren't very great. Coming from Rossies, I noticed a very substantial quality drop between this skate and all the Rossies I've ever unboxed. I did see there was a sticker on the sole plates saying that these were quality checked by someone, but even with that, I found random hunks of plastic sticking out of places. There was one sticking out of the cuff, one sticking out of the eyelets. The first thing I did was change my laces to my laced laces because I wanted to test them out. And just taking the laces out once, I managed to peel the paint off the eyelets, which to me is completely unacceptable. That should not be happening on brand new skates. It shouldn't happen ever. There is a nice gold colored metal underneath, which honestly I'd probably prefer if it was just gold eyelets instead of this white paint that comes off so easily. But yeah, I mean, there was nothing majorly wrong with this skate, you know, it's just these little details like that that really just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, and it's something that I didn't see any of in my Rossi skates. But also, that being said, in other plastic skates I've had before, like razors and things like that, there's been similar things, like it's just minor things, nothing really to worry about. Now my impressions of just the design of the skate. Every other Aeon has a 45-degree strap. This cheap version of that, they decided to put lace hooks. I did try to use them day one of skating these, but I found the skates felt fine without them, and I couldn't really work out how to properly use them, so I didn't really bother. I left them on because I thought it looked better, but then some people told me that they heard of people cutting their hands on it and then getting hooked and stuff, so I took them off and just left the thread and the screw in there because the hole there looked ugly. If they were just trying to cheapen the price of the skate down, they should have just had nothing there because the lace hooks are completely useless. I'm not too concerned with the fact that it didn't come with a 45-degree strap. I've heard some pretty bad things about the 45-degree strap on the Aeons. I've like just seen it come undone on people quite a lot. So yeah, they feel fine without it. I don't know what it's like with it, but they're fine without it. The liners are comfy, but they do feel cheap. I don't think these will last forever, but they're fine, especially for the price that this skate is. I'm pretty sure this is the worst liner you can get in an Aeon, and that is pretty good for the worst liner available. I've seen much worse stock liners. The version of the Basic 2 I have here came with the older Aeon cuff. I think the newer ones come with the newer cuff now, but from my experience, this cuff is totally fine. On my first session of them, I was worried it was going to be stabbing into me on top sides because I did a stall on coping and I really noticed that. But then when I'm actually doing topside grinds, I don't notice anything. I don't have any complaints with how this cuff performs. Other than the buckle protection isn't too great. There's been a few times where I've really smashed this buckle because there's nothing protecting it here. Where you'd think you wouldn't hit very much, but I've hit it quite a lot, especially on alley-oop top horns, which is a trick I've been doing a lot recently. Luckily, it's a really solid metal buckle, so it can take quite a few knocks, but if you can see, I've really bent it already. I think at a beginner level, the protection for the buckle was fine. So once you get into doing like alley-oop top sides, that you might start clipping that. But yeah, that's the only complaint I have with this cuff. So you should be fine whether you get the old cuff or the new cuff on these skates. I found that all the hardware on the skate is very cheap and very shallow, and it feels like it'd be so easy to round it all and ruin it. This is a cheap skate, so I can't really be mad about that, but I'm pretty sure the hardware is the same across all the Aeons. I think it's one of the biggest downsides of the skate. I've heard a lot of people would lose cuff bolts on these because the Loctite that they come with isn't enough and they just come loose and you lose them. So the first thing I did was Loctite these. The only Loctite I could get was a red one, which means you can't undo it. And yeah, that's what I did, and I've had no problems with that, obviously. Shout out to Corey English for making me do that because he probably saved me a lot of grief there of losing a bolt. You should see his video if you haven't, for tips for someone getting Aeons. It's really good. But anyway, my overall first impressions of these skates aren't great. I definitely get cheap vibes from the skate, but this is a cheap skate. It's the whole point of the Basic 2. But I would be worried that the more expensive Aeon 60s would have similar problems. So that's my first impression of the skate. What is my experience with them overall? So I've been skating these for around 5 months now, and in short, I love them. Coming from the very narrow skate that is the Rosie's M12, straight away these felt quite fat and short, which was fine. I surprisingly didn't hate that. It felt good. I was expecting to be slipping over when I tried turn from the sole plate touching the ground, because it is a lot bigger than the Rosie's M12, but that wasn't happening. I was totally fine. It was actually better than when I was skating the Rosie's. I wasn't slipping over anywhere near as much. I think that has more to do with the frames I was skating on the Rosie's, but anyway. I also expected this to feel a lot more like anti-rocker with this absolutely massive groove. I was expecting it to feel a bit more train tracky. The only times I noticed the train tracky feeling was when skating coping or in the bowl. You definitely can't turn as sharp as you could with like the Solas or other frames I've skated flat. And I thought I'd be scraping on all the like little bumps at the skate park, the transitions, you know, but that wasn't happening at all as well. I couldn't believe it. These almost seemed too good to be true. The absolutely massive shock absorber that's in this as well was a relief for my heels, which are still injured to this day from the M12. For my very first time putting the skate on, just skating around, I was loving it. When it came to doing grinds on the skate, I couldn't believe it. The groove on this is just absolutely perfect. There's no other way to say it. It felt exactly like how I remember skating anti-rocker felt like. And I've skated anti-rocker again since changing to flat. And it was a horrible experience for me. I couldn't do any grinds. So this is kind of like in a too good to be true kind of sense where I'm skating flat, but it feels like how I remember skating anti-rocker felt. The groove has a unique feel. The way that it's built, it has like a slim piece underneath the groove. And that's what you feel when you're grinding, which was a cool feeling. I liked it. It didn't really add anything, but it felt cool. When you jumped into like a Royale or something, if you didn't get your body perfectly right with any other flat frame I have ever skated, you usually couldn't recover. You kind of had to get pretty much perfectly onto the ledge from the very start to be able to hold the whole ledge. But with these, there's room to recover. I've found myself not landing in the Royale perfectly, being able to pull my body back on top like I could when I skated anti-rocker. Something I didn't think would ever be possible on a flat skate. I found groove to sole trick switch ups a lot more easier to do on these compared to all the other flat frames I skated. It's extremely safe to do. The absolutely massive sole plates were amazing too. Grinds felt weird at first coming from the tiny sole plates of the Rosie's, but once I got used to it, it was great. You know, I could get away with a lot more. I had a lot more confidence in my grinds, which was nice. Top sides felt a lot better. I've heard a lot of people say that the sole plate in these feel very slow, and I had no experience of that at first. My first few months skating this, they were fine. They felt like any other sole plate out there, but as we got further into me wearing these down now, they have started to feel a bit slow, and I can kind of see what people are saying, but it's nothing extreme. You can still skate them. You just will need wax. After skating these for 5 months, mostly in park, but also with a bit of street, they've held up totally fine. They've got a lot of life left in them still. Like I've still got the extended part on the sole plates. Funnily enough, my switch groove has been worn out more than my regular groove in the backside plate. But yeah, they're still totally fine. I think you can expect the skate to last a good enough amount of time, especially if you skate park like me. So that's my experience skating these for the last 5 months, really shortened down. If you want to see the longer version of me actually going out and skating these for the first time, I'll link to the B-roll in the corner. That might give you a bit more insight. But to wrap this video up, do I recommend these skates? You probably already guessed it, but yes, I recommend these skates. This is a great skate for the price, especially this model being the cheaper model. The frame and groove is completely unmatched. If you are wanting to skate flat, you will not regret buying this skate. To dive deeper into that, who do I think these skates are for? I would say these skates are for anyone beginner or above that wants to skate flat. For beginners in particular, this is a great skate to start on because 1, it's cheap. 2, it's a one-piece boot, meaning you just take it out of the box and it's ready to skate. And finally, it has nice big sole plates and the best groove for flat, which should make it a lot easier to pick up grinds from the start. As for everyone else that is beginner and above that wants to skate flat, I think the Aeon 60 is the best place to start if you're transitioning from anti-rocker to flat. Now, it's not going to be an easy process by any means. It'll be very unlikely that you're going to jump on the Aeons and have all your tricks straight away. I know a few people that have bought Aeons expecting that to happen, only to give up on flat and go back to anti-rocker straight away. So that right there is pretty much proof that it's not a fix-all, it's not easy mode. You still have to relearn to skate flat. So don't expect it to be easy, but from my experience, this would be the easiest one to learn on. The Aeon gives you a lot more room for error over any other setup I've skated today. If you're either of those people, I highly recommend the Aeon 60 for you, whether it's the basic one that I have or any of the Aeon 60s. And that's it for this review. I hope I helped you out in some way. If you have any more further questions about the skate or anything, let me know in the comments down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I post a video every week I can. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons. I couldn't do this without them, as well as you for watching, especially if you're still here right now. And yeah, I'll see you guys later on. Peace out.